The glowing rocks experiment. So, a professor decided to tell two groups of students about these amazing glowing rocks. Okay. The first group, he told about the rocks and they glow naturally without any kind of stimulation. He told them about the rocks and said, we have absolutely no idea how they work. And then later, when the students were polled after the fact and asked, do they understand how the rocks work? The students were like, no, we have no idea how they work. A second group of students, the professor said, we've got these glowing rocks. It's fabulous. It's phenomenal. And we know exactly how they work. Scientists have figured it all out. And then in the exit interview, the students who didn't even hear how the rocks worked reported that they claimed to better understand how they fluoresced, how the rocks gave off light magically. And what's key is that neither of these groups realized that the entire story was fabricated. There are no glowing rocks, and we have no idea how they work. And the fact that the two groups gave different types of answers, knowing more or knowing less about how it worked, shows that merely knowing that knowledge is available in the community makes people feel knowledgeable, be it true or completely false.
Whoa.
Oh, here we go again. This one's going to be fast and loose because it was Eric's idea. I'm warning you up front.
I have good ideas sometimes.
This is Woodworking is Bullshit, your favorite podcast all about art, design, philosophy, the creative side of what we do and why we do it. I'm your host, Paul Jasper of Copper Pig Woodworking, scientist by day, woodworker by night. And my boy is across from me on the screen, Eric Curtis.
¿Cómo estás, motherfuckers?
Fine furniture maker and content creator. And today we have a beloved guest to the woodworking community. I would think it's safe to say that. Woodworker, mentor, writer, podcaster, and all-around great guy, Vic Tesolin. Vic, welcome to the show.
What is going on?
And maybe you left out perhaps the best damn mustache in the woodworking game.
It's getting there, boys.
It's coming up.
It's getting there.
That's a winter stash right there.
That is, yep.
I'd say it's been there for quite some time. Amazing. So today's show, if you couldn't tell from the cold open, is about, well, bullshit. Woodworking is bullshit. So we're going to talk about what are some commonly held myths in the woodworking community. And of course, I have to bring some psychology research into why the hell do we believe these myths at all? What is it about humans? Why are we predisposed to believing this shit?
What episode are we going to dive into the psychology of you being super anxious about not having all of the structure and all of the information
you're
before
the
we
worst.
hit record?
You are the worst. For those that don't know, occasionally I let Eric plan a show, and what that means is Eric basically
hold on. The framing of the power dynamic of occasionally I allow Eric to pitch a show is perfect. It's perfect.
Yes, because we've tried your fucking experiment. Do you remember the show? I don't know what episode it was, episode 11, where it's like Eric said, "Let's just wing it."
Oh yeah, that one was a disaster. Barstool Confessions is a winging it episode.
Fair. Touche.
Uh-huh.
I accept your point.
Any Hoosiers, we don't have to bicker in front of the kids. Let's talk about Vic. So, couple of things. A couple of months ago, you put out an Instagram story about writing a potential book called Woodworking Bullshit.
Yes.
And immediately Paul and I texted each other and we were like, we got to get Vic on the show. Obviously,
right.
that's a natural crossover. But I want to go back a few years and start at the beginning. The first time I met you was, I think the year was 2010. I could be wrong. And you were working for Veritas at the time and doing the woodworking shows. And I think it was the one in New England. And I was just a wee lad coming in literally. I think that was the first woodworking event I ever went to. It was like I was a boy with a dream, and came up to the Veritas booth, and I talked to you for, I don't know, maybe 20, 30 minutes, and not about Veritas. Like I distinctly remember being like, how do I make this into a career? And you were kind enough to sit down and have a 20 or 30-minute conversation with me. And then at the end of that, gave me your email. I emailed you after the show, and you emailed me a handful of resources to do further research into, one of which was CFC. And I think that is how I discovered the Center for Furniture Craftsmanship. So I say that because I just want to tell you up front that as my career has grown and people look to me sometimes for advice as to how to make this into a career, which is a terrible decision to do. Don't ask me that question because I don't know what the fuck I'm doing.
Don't do it.
I do have to be honest, and like, you are kind of the archetype that I hope that I can be for people, of like somebody who has the ability, the humanity, the kindness to give their time and resources to direct younger folk into the field. So I wouldn't be here recording this podcast with this clown if it wasn't for you having that conversation with me, whatever, 15, 16 years ago. So thank you for doing that, buddy. That really does mean a lot.
Yeah, I can see the hate mail coming in now. So it's your fault.
It is.
Well, I thank you for saying that. That's very kind of you. And again, I've always just wanted to make woodworking accessible. I've always enjoyed it. I've always found it to be helpful in so many different ways. Not just a matter of getting a piece of furniture built and being happy with it, but all of the things that we experience as we design and we build and we do things like that. There's a lot of benefit to that. So I just want everybody to be able to do that.
So tell me about how you got into it, because you were in the armed forces, correct?
I was, yeah. I started out as a hobby. For some reason, when my daughter was set to be born, I had this like crazy need to make something for her, and I don't know if it was like a form of nesting or something. I don't know. But I joined a wood hobby club on base, which was $25 a year.
Damn.
And I got access to all the machines. I didn't know what the heck I was doing with any of them.
What year is this? What? Give me a time frame.
99.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So I didn't know what I was doing. I sort of had been around woodworking in a sense, in that like my dad and most of his family were in the trades. And so like I was, I knew that you could make things with these. But then I joined that hobby club. I bought a copy of Wood magazine, and it had a bedside table with a drawer in it, and I made it. And you could only open the drawer half the time of the year because I hadn't learned about wood movement yet. So in the summertime, my daughter couldn't get into the drawer. Anyway, she wouldn't let me throw it out because I was just mortified by it.
Have you fixed the drawer since? No.
Yeah. It was we're talking Roman OG sides.
Why is that the profile that everybody uses first?
Because it's more complicated than a cove or a round over. It's like both.
Man. Okay. All right. So 99, 2000, you make a bedside table.
Yep.
At that moment, you're still in the Army at that point?
Yep. Still in the Army.
Yeah?
Yep.
Okay.
And then I busted up my shoulder pretty badly. I used to play rugby for the Army.
Wow.
And I got my shoulder completely destroyed, had to have surgery, and it never sort of got back to it's fine for quote unquote civilian life, but in the military, the physical rigors were just too much for it. So
how did you destroy it?
I was being stubborn. A back had the ball and I wasn't letting him get by me, and I refused to let go of him, and he refused to stop running. So, and it just popped my shoulder right out.
Oh man.
Oh, so you tore a bunch of ligaments and
stuff.
Oh,
yeah. They had to cut everything shorter and reattach everything.
God.
And
wow.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Oh no.
Yeah.
It was a gooder. And then I had a couple more dislocations after that, one skiing, because now it's like, like that Mel Gibson
Sure.
movie, you sneeze and it pops out and you just ram into a wall and fix
Does
it.
it still?
What movie is that?
I don't know. There was some movie where he like would reset his shoulder like by himself. And it was,
Oh, what was that movie?
yeah, I can't remember either.
He'd slam it against the wall, right?
Yeah. I feel like there was
Okay.
a franchise of movies or something where he was like a cop or something.
Yes.
Or, I don't know.
forget. But
I don't know.
I actually, Vic, I dislocated my shoulder as well, except I was drunk and on a slip and slide. So
That's a much better story.
Same difference. Same difference.
So I decided it'd be a good idea at our yearly block party. Number one, of course, I was drunk. Number two, there was a giant slip and slide. Number three, I was like, my daughter, let's go together. And so I pick her little peanut up in my arm, and
Yep.
she's there. She's only like 5, and we're
Right.
like, let's do this. And we go down the slip and slide, and we hit the ground. We hit the bottom of the slide with such force that her body weight wrenched my shoulder out of socket.
Oh my gosh.
and like tore my shoulder up. That was
Shit.
great. It was great. Yeah, that
Wow.
was strong. How'd you do this? And I was like, I don't remember.
That's awesome.
All right. So you busted up your shoulder,
Yeah.
and got out of active duty at that point.
Yeah. So I was medically released.
Okay.
And so that my long-term disability company had money aside for retraining, and I had to figure out what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so
And you were like, dope, I made a table that kind of works half the year one, so I'm going to do that professionally now.
that's it. That was my
Sounds
cutting
about like every
plan.
woodworker.
Yeah.
There was no Reddit page for me to go to and read
Right.
like, oh, that's a dumb idea.
Okay. So how did you get from that idea to representing Veritas or working for Veritas with Veritas?
Yeah, I worked for them. Yeah.
Okay.
For 10 years. Yep.
Okay. So how did you get from that dream to being a company man?
Well, what I did was I went to school at Rosewood Studio, which is a private school up here. And because I didn't want to go to college because I had no interest in doing like math and English and all that other stuff. I just wanted to be completely immersed in furniture making. So that's what I did. I did that for 9 months, and basically had amazing opportunities. Teachers would cycle through in there. Garrett Hack, Adrian Ferrazzuti, Michael Fortune, like just all of these guys would come through and teach, and I'd take little bits and pieces from everybody. And then Rosewood changed hands. The company actually went out of business for a second, and then
interesting.
One of the teachers bought it, and in fact, I was working at his shop. We had a deal where like I would work for him for 8 hours a week, and then the rest of the time I could just work. I could just build stuff, which was amazing because I didn't have a shop. I didn't have anything. And then when he bought the school, he said, listen, I'd love for you to come and be the resident craftsman, which is translation for change the joiner knives.
Sure.
Empty the dust collector. Get coffee.
The technician, if we're going to be professional, the shop bitch, if we're not.
sucks.
Like, we've
Right.
all done it. We've all played that role.
We've all been there. Yeah. So anyway, so I did that. And then one day, a photographer came into the studio looking for somebody to put boards through a thickness planer. And they needed it for it was Canadian Woodworking Magazine. And so they had an article, and so they did the shoot. I was sending boards through, and then one photo ended up becoming the cover. And so then
I didn't see model being the avenue
good
into
look.
it. Man.
Yeah, no, it's
Just that raw
model's
sexuality.
a loose term. It's a very, very loose term. But yeah, so then I started writing. I started writing for Canadian Woodworking Magazine, and then a year after that, I ended up being their editor for 14 months. And then that's when, after a while, like what I've learned about myself is that like if I have to like run something like that big, like a magazine, there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of stress. And I don't deal well with it. And
Really?
and I'm not the best.
That's weird, Vic, because I was going to predict you actually did do well with stress, knowing
Well,
your personality.
Yeah, well, I mean, I do okay with it, but I don't like it. And so I guess that's the difference. I'm okay at it, but I don't like it. And I'm also not a great employee because I think my ideas are fantastic. And if you don't think so, we got a problem. So,
Oh my God, I love it.
Yeah, it's wild. So anyway, so I did that for a bit, and then I ended up working at Lee Valley and Veritas. So,
and you were there for 10 years, you said?
I was there for 10 years. So yeah, largely what I did was I mean, my official title was woodworking advisor. And so basically I would train staff. I would travel to all the different parts of the globe that Veritas was distributed. At that point, it was like 21 different countries.
Wow.
And so I would teach, I would go to England and teach the guys at Axminster how to use our tools. And I would go to South Korea, and I would go to Australia and Germany and all those places and do all of that fun stuff. So
Wow.
yeah, it was really cool. And I mean, and when I wasn't traveling, I would hang my hat in the R&D department at Veritas, which is a very cool place to be. At least it was back then. And, we had all the designers and engineers, and, like it was about as nerdy as you could get, like as far as hand tools and stuff goes. Like you could really because you have like an engineer who's been like manufacturing all of these things for years, and you have designers who had been there since Mr. Lee was there, and so like these guys are like the pros, right? They're like,
wow,
these are the people.
Those are the guys with stories,
right?
Yeah.
And so and then I'm just the woodworker, so I just stop them from putting lasers on things, because when you leave engineers on their own, they'll do that. Right.
Yep. That tracks. That tracks.
Yeah. So it's like,
So-
nope, doesn't need a laser.
Okay, so you were there for a decade, and now you're at Fine Woodworking. Was that the next step?
No,
No, you're not at Fine Woodworking.
Well, I'm not at Fine Woodworking necessarily. I mean, I co-host their podcast once in a while,
okay.
just when they want, their CanCon. A little bit of Canadian content, so CanCon, yeah.
Get out of here with that.
Yeah. That's what we call it up here when like a radio station has to play like a certain percentage of Canadian music.
Well, there is a certain jovialness, if you will, to just like the boot, As soon as you hit that the long ooh, then it's like, oh, okay, I want to listen to this pod. It makes me feel good in my soul,
Right.
It's like warm soup in your stomach.
Yeah, it's like watching Fargo. It's fantastic.
Is that what we have Conrad on all the time?
That's why we got him on. Yeah,
he warms your loins.
Every once in a blue moon, he'll hit in a boot by accident. I'm like, there it is. Yeah,
there it is. Yeah, and he's got great hair. I mean,
how
do you beat that?
He's a goddamn rock star of the woodworking world.
Yeah.
Well, so Vic, the part of the reason I wanted to hear that story is because I think when people develop, and I was certainly among these folks, when you develop the idea that you want to be a professional woodworker, I think we have a very narrow-minded path of what that looks like. And your path, I hope you don't take this the wrong way, because I mean it in the most complimentary way, because I feel like you had to be very clever to do this, but it's like, when you think of like the music industry, there are the musicians, and then there are the people who work in the industry and make the industry happen.
Right.
And your path sounds more like that latter path, where you're like, I'm going to be in the woodworking industry. And you know what? You know what that does? That provides you a paycheck, that provides you benefits and paid time off.
Right.
And that like it's
stability.
It's stability, and that it is a way to be involved in the thing that you wanted to do without necessarily taking on the risk of like doing the dumb thing that I did, which is banging your head against the wall until you figure out how to be self-employed and not, impoverished and malnourished. And I think there's a lot of value in that story.
Sure. Yeah. Like, I mean, it's not unknown that, making a living as a furniture maker is a very difficult thing to do. And the people that are doing it are not doing it with commissions alone. Even the best of the best teach and write and do all sorts of other things that sort of supplement supplement their income as a furniture maker. And so for me, it was like, well, what does that look like? And I think I spent a lot of time in the military in an educational capacity. So like I would teach new soldiers how to drive. I would teach soldiers how to do certain things. And so I kind of really enjoyed teaching. And so like when I think about the trajectory of my woodworking career, I would always put it sort of to the test of like, okay, is this some sort of educational component to this? And so that's why like at Veritas, it was great because like I was constantly teaching people how to use the tools, helping them get better at it, defragging problems.
Vic, what does that say about you as a person? That you enjoy the process of teaching others?
Well, I think I felt extremely fortunate at Rosewood to be, sitting in the same room and listening to Michael Fortune explain his design process. And like, to me, that sort of, all of those opportunities that I have, I feel like I don't want to hang on to that. Like, I don't want to just, have had the experience. I want to like pass it on and help people. I don't know. I feel I kind of joke sometimes that I say I'm like a woodworking Jehovah's Witness, where it's like I want to like encourage and like I have a quota to make, like I'm like, or else I'm not getting to Valhalla or whatever the place is that they go. But I've offended a lot of people.
I think that's
in that
the place.
one sentence. Yeah, Valhalla, is that what it is? Jehovah's Witnesses go to Valhalla.
Eric would know.
Yeah. So yeah. So for me, it's like everything has been like. And even to this day, like I don't do anything if it doesn't pass that litmus test. If it has nothing to do with education, and I mean writing, all that other kind of stuff, like it's education in one form or the other. But like I don't do things that don't have that element to them.
Can I say what we're all thinking, Eric?
Please.
What a fucking nice, great guy.
I said it at the top of the fucking episode.
No,
he's the nicest fucking guy in woodworking.
What a nice human you are,
and
Vic.
here's the thing, like there are people who say I'm a nice guy. It's only because they don't know me well enough. There is not a single person I have ever talked to who's been like, that Vic Teslin's a real piece of shit. Like he's just genuinely a fucking nice dude.
Well, I appreciate that. I'm sure I could find you some that would disagree.
Sure.
But yeah, I don't know. I just try to keep it real and try to be honest about things, and like I really enjoy woodworking, and I really enjoy seeing the satisfaction that other people get from making something. Or like I participated in a class that was teaching women how to use power tools. And like this one woman was so nervous about using a miter saw. And then she made that first cut, and this look of like, she's like, I have the eye of Sauron. I have the power now. You know what I mean? And it's like,
I've been teaching our favorite videographer in the community, Justin Maybe and Morgan.
Yep.
I've been teaching them how to hand cut dovetails. We've been doing sessions, like one session every 3 or 4 weeks, and they come back to my house and we cut and do. And neither of them has done hardly any woodworking, like hand tool woodworking.
Right.
They've used a saw or two and tried a thing. But this is our third or fourth session just yesterday, and they hand cut dovetails with a handsaw and chisels by themselves, with no instruction, no cheat sheet, nothing. They walked in the shop cold with what they already knew from the previous 3 sessions or 2 sessions,
right,
and did it. Now, sure, there's room for improvement. Of course, I called one of Justin's dovetails an abomination, at which point he laughed and cried a little bit, but just seeing the two of them, because they've been in the wood, Justin's been in a woodworking community a long time, but which mystifies me. No one's really given him the opportunity or taken him and been like, let's do some woodworking together. And I was like, really? Like, I can't believe it. Like, you've met every famous woodworker there is. Like, what do you mean? Like, and to see the satisfaction on Justin's face and Morgan's face about cutting their own dovetails was exactly like you describe with your class with the woman who used the chop saw. It's like this feeling of personal empowerment and fulfillment, and it does feel great to see that for them by proxy. It makes you feel
think
amazing.
As human beings, like, we have this innate desire to create. You know what I mean? We were all artists when we were a kid, as was evidenced by our parents' refrigerators. You know what I mean? And so, like, at some point, you know, the school system beat that out of us and made us good at taking tests and all that other kind of stuff. And then we sort of lost that creative side. But I mean, when people, I find that half my battle when I'm dealing with a new student is to convince them that yes, they absolutely fucking can woodwork. And like, and the example about dovetails is awesome because, like, we know, and anybody who's spent some time at the bench knows, that dovetails really aren't that hard.
Yeah.
They appear hard.
Yeah.
And they've sort of been venerated as this really I don't know, heightened status.
Yeah, it's got some mythical, some legendary status to it that only the finest of woodworkers are capable of that, right?
Right.
And then Morgan and Justin walk out, and at one point, look, it's hard to get them perfect. I would agree.
Sure.
There's a lot of technical know-how and a lot of muscle memory. It's fine, but they walked away, and I'm going to put words in their mouth because I recall them saying it's not as bad as I thought. Because just like you said, the community had built it up to some mythical, griffin, unicorn like legendary status that only the finest can do. And it really, they said, you demystified it. You just broke it into a series of steps, and I fucked up one of those steps, and all right, but I know what I did and I can fix it on the next time. And you just demystify the whole process, and they leave there with this amazing feeling of satisfaction and empowerment. I love it.
Yeah, the most important thing is to sort of instill this idea of being able to critique your own work and to be able to, like, say, oh yeah, no, I didn't cut that great here, and this is why that happened, because I was crowding the saw with my body a bit, and so, like, whatever happened. But, like, as long as you can see, I've done this, how do I fix it, right? As long as you've got that sort of character, then you can sort of work it out.
And you don't let it destroy you. Like, I felt free to give them my opinion in a very, like, straight, forthcoming way, and they didn't take it personally. It's about getting better. It's not a character assassination. It's not like you're not a good human. I mean, I did call it an abomination, but that was just to make Justin laugh, which it did. He fucking cracked up. He totally cracked up. But,
so what you guys are saying is the role of the teacher is to take the myth that dovetails are hard and call it bullshit.
That was an amazing segue.
Is what we call a segue.
That was beautiful.
So, Vic, you're writing a book about woodworking bullshit.
Yes.
How many myths do you have? How many bullshits do you have right now?
Oh my God.
Over 100.
Okay, wonderful.
Over 100?
So if we drop 5 or 10, we're not going to ruin the book.
No.
Okay, great.
There's going to be a lot. There's chapters.
Chapters.
Should we go round robin, Eric?
Ooh, okay.
We take turns. Let's take turns.
Let's go. So I will preface it. Are we sticking purely with woodworking bullshit? Or are we doing okay? So I'll preface this to the audience by saying Vic is writing about woodworking. We know that our audience includes other genres of creative folk. So the myths that I have are just about creativity in general, and Paul, being Paul, has research on the psychology of myths and believing.
I felt like that was a shot.
That was not, buddy.
I don't think that was a shot.
I love you deeply in my soul.
I feel like that might have been a little bit of a shot.
I've been in the room when Curtis gives a shot, and I don't think that was it.
That's true. I will shit on. Public shaming is a valuable tool for a teacher. That was not public shaming.
Yeah.
Okay, buddy. Okay.
Yeah, I can sense it pretty well. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Vic, lead us off, buddy. Fire one off.
Okay, so well, anyway, to start, like, we were kind of laughing a few years ago. Chris Schwartz and I were talking about how much, like, stupid shit there is in woodworking and what people think you have to do, and then it's perpetuated by whatever. And Paul will be able to help us out with that a little bit. But what I was trying to figure out was like, let's get a group of like these sort of myths that we've all heard before and that we've all, came up with and either believed or sort of put into practice because we thought they were true. Like, so for example, whenever I'm working with a student and we're making a tabletop, and I will start taking the boards and I'll just start flipping them and start going end for end, and I'll be looking at the grain pattern, and they're like, well, wait a minute, don't you have to orient the grain? And I'm like, well, what do you mean? And they're like, well, you have to have like the cup going up on one board
Smiley
and then
face,
down on
frowny
the
face.
other board. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's even got a name, happy face, frowny face. And I always look at them.
Wait, Vic, explain that more for people who aren't woodworkers.
Okay,
like,
so
a little bit.
Trees, they grow.
This is the audio format. Cowboy.
Go forward a little bit further.
Roll it back that far. So a seed germinates in the soil.
When a mommy tree and a daddy tree love each other very
much. Yes, that's right. Oh boy.
All right.
So because trees, the growth rings are round, and then when you cut a board out of it, you get some of those boards the grain is going like this on the end grain, but if you flip the board over, now it's a smile. So it's either like a smile or a frown, right? And so it's been misrepresented that you need to make sure that those alternate. So one up, one down, one up, one down. And apparently what that's supposed to do is it's supposed to, when the wood moves, you see it in woodworking textbooks. And it's like, now you get this instead of this. And I'm like, I don't want either of those things. So what's my other choice? And the other choice is, well, wood is going to move, and hopefully you're using seasoned lumber. And if you're not, well, guess what? You're going to learn something. But I pick my board so that I get the best possible, to my eye, the best possible visual out of that top, or even if it's like the side of a box or whatever. So it's like,
regardless of the grain orientation,
regardless
up, down,
of
up,
grain,
down, yeah.
Nobody gives a shit
inside
about
of
the
tree,
orientation,
outside of the tree. Nobody cares, and nobody has ever like brought that to my attention, like as me being a student and a teacher saying, okay, yes, you have to do this. Like, I never, ever heard that. But then all of a sudden...
It's not a thing, but it is in the textbooks for some reason.
It is.
So the question becomes, where did that myth come from? Like, it came from somewhere, right?
I think it's theoretical, to be quite honest. I think
sure.
If wood is going to move and you're going to get cupping, and so what would you prefer? Would you prefer like high, low, high, low, high, low? Or would you prefer like a barrel?
So is this a vestige of people using, like, 200 years ago? Sometimes, obviously at that point, everything was air dried. Sometimes people might rush, or they might not know how long to wait for a piece of air dried timber to be properly seasoned. So it's more likely to warp at that point.
Hard to say.
So at that point, it might be a better practice.
Eric, there's no answer to your question.
Everybody that knows is dead. So
yeah,
100 years ago, there was no air conditioning, there was no central heating, there was no blah, 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 blah. So then what is wood like? What's woodworking like?
It makes sense from a logical point of view if you want the flattest overall approach, right?
Right.
You don't want some huge barrel-like shape to your table. And,
right.
I mean, I get it.
So is this another example then, and engineers are going to take an unwarranted stray here? Is this another example of engineers coming in and be like, in theory, it would be better if... Let me push my glasses back up a little bit and tell you guys how wood works.
This comes to our episode of theory versus practice.
Right.
Like, the theory says one thing and the practice says another.
So I have people tell me all the time that because I use a Tormek to sharpen my tools, that my edges aren't strong enough because I'm using a hollow grind. And I'm like, dude, we're talking about 0.03 millimeters, right? We're talking a very small amount. It's as close as flat as damn is to swearing. And but people will argue because
Vic, when you say people, what you really mean is hobbyists.
Yes.
Sorry, hobbyists. I'm allowed to call you out because I am one of you.
He said I am one, so I can say
I am one
Right.
of your ranks.
Right.
I am a hobbyist.
Right.
It is the hobbyists making the most noise.
100%.
It is not professionals.
Yeah, you're
because they have
100%
time
correct.
to think about it. They have time to like navel gaze about it. And there's and when you draw a picture, and this is a picture of the boards, right? The wave versus the cup. And then same thing with a hollow bevel. Whenever you see a picture of a hollow bevel drawn, it looks like
It's
wafer
exaggerated.
thin at the end.
Right,
And
because
like
they
it's
have to
flopping
exaggerate
around.
it to make the point. Yeah.
Right. And
Yeah.
so then all of a sudden it's like, well, see, that's weak. And it's like, well, but that's not what it looks like. And if you open up the manual for the Tormek, it actually has a full size drawing of what the hollow bevel looks like. And you have to put a ruler on it to
see
even show that there's a bit of a curve there.
This is one of those arguments where I just, I don't say this out loud, but in my head I'm saying, and just before you say no, just hear me out on this argument. Or
No.
you can go fuck yourself. Like that's, like we got shit to do, man. I don't care.
Look, Eric, the real answer to this is like, how do you know? How do you know you're right? Vic, how do you know it doesn't weaken?
I
mean,
don't know that I'm right or wrong.
Well,
but
the truth is you have to test it scientifically.
Yeah.
You have to have it super thin and see the fragility. You have to have it thicker, test the fragility, and have data to support the conclusion. That's actually the way to go about this.
You're 1000% correct. And that is where scientists and engineers have their value in the community. What I'm saying is you are talking about people who are worried about the strength of a piece of steel cutting a piece of wood. It's a piece of wood. Just cut the fucking wood. Like if it cuts, it works. That's all that matters.
Well, so that's the anecdotal experience is like, it works. So shut the hell up.
Yeah.
Right.
Who cares?
Okay.
You do it one way, I do it another. That's fine.
Like
We
when
can
I
both-
learned how to
we can
sharpen at
coexist.
school, we were taught to use a 6-inch grinder,
I have that.
and then grind your hollow bevel, and then rest your heel and then your toe onto the stone, and then sharpen so you're hitting the heel and the toe only. And then once you get about halfway to the center, you can regrind, and it just speeds you up. So if I can use a 6-inch grind and it's fine.
Yeah.
In A2, in O1, in high carbon steel, in whatever other stupid alloys you got, it works. And it's been working for a long time. So it's like, I mean, I know that the science supports that, but then at a certain point when you start measuring in science, right, you start moving a decimal point. Now all of a sudden,
it's a lot to do about nothing.
right? And then it's like now you're arguing about how many angels can dance at the head of a pin, and
the number of just like random like old timey isms that you have in your
I've
back
noticed
pocket.
it.
So
the number of angels that can dance on the head of a pin. I love it. Keep it up, Eric. What do you got?
Let's keep it going. So here's one that I think we all hear regardless of our practice. And I think it's meant with good intention, but I think it's terrible advice, which is if you're good at your craft, you should go pro.
No.
So
It's a good way to kill it.
Is it?
It's a good way to kill your love for your craft.
It is. But here's why I think about this. And I think it's a myth because I think we all kind of hold that in the beginning. Maybe, I don't know, Paul, I don't think you ever did. Correct me if I'm wrong. Hold that kind of, that dream. But I think the majority of people, and I could be wrong on this, like once you find that thing that lights a fire in your belly, you go like, well, what if I could, what if I didn't have to have a job and I could just do this all day?
Well, how about this? How about you dip your toe in it like I did? Do it 8 hours a day for like a week or two, like when you have a vacation or something, and realize that it sucks.
It's
I don't mean it sucks in a general sense, but I just mean like doing it to that level for me was immediately obvious. This is a no-fly zone. I do not enjoy 8 hours, 10 hours a day. I enjoy 3, 2, 4 hours a day. And that's where we're going to keep it. So I think it's all about taste testing it. Like, why wouldn't you taste test it?
I think it is.
Or maybe some people need a longer taste test. Maybe they need like, oh, I want to try it for a year or 2 years and
Well,
see
I
how it
think
goes,
I
right?
wonder also if it's a little bit of a status thing. Like you have your competency in your professional field, and people ultimately want to be viewed as competent, right? Like I think that's a general idea. We want to be respected, we want to be admired.
Yeah.
And if you have a job that you dislike and you fall in love with woodworking and you go like maybe I could
Oh.
do this, or again whatever the craft is,
Mm.
painting, songwriting, whatever it is, and you go like maybe I can garner some social currency through this act. And just because money is a part of our society and it's a high value part of our society, we go, if I can make money from doing this, this means I'm good. And if I'm a professional, if
I
I'm
see.
doing it full time, and if I can feed my family with it, that is further proof that I'm good. And so at some point, like you have to respect me because I'm doing the thing.
Yeah, I see. So,
So
it's
2
more like
points
looking
on that.
Go,
Actually.
yeah, go ahead.
So
Vic.
one of the things is that first of all, there's a large number of the population that dislike what they do for a living.
Mm-hmm.
Right? It's very rare to find somebody who actually enjoys what they're doing, and so anything that is remotely better than that, right, is then
Yeah.
oh, could I do this as a
Yeah, the
living?
grass is always greener.
Right,
Yeah.
exactly. And so, and then the other point is that, like I like sex, but I do not want to be in the porn industry because because as soon as you have to do that, you have to perform. You have to perform well.
Wait. Am
Oh
I
my
in
God.
the porn industry?
This is the best pivot ever in the history of our podcast.
I'm just saying, after a while, you'd be like, no, I don't want to have sex with that person because
I don't want to have sex 20 times a day.
I'm tired. I'm dehydrated.
Oh my God,
The
Vic.
perfect analogy. This is a
Oh my
perfect
God.
analogy. Yeah.
But like,
yeah.
but like once a week, couple times a week.
This is amazing.
This is going to be my advice now to people for the rest of my goddamn days.
When
Right.
someone comes to Eric and is like, should I get into the woodworking industry as a professional? Eric's going to say,
Say, how many times a week do you want to have sex?
Right.
And they're going to have no idea what I'm talking about, but that's not the point.
And some would say, what? 8 hours a day, every day? That's awesome.
Yeah, and then to
Right.
Paul's point, until they go and do it, and then by
Right.
Thursday, they're like, I need all the Gatorade, actually. I've got no fluids left.
get
Right.
off me.
Get off.
Don't anyone touch me, okay? How about
All right.
that?
So if you're good in the sack, you don't necessarily have to go pro. That's what we've
Okay.
learned. Paul, go for it, cowboy.
Okay, mine is woodworking related, but it speaks to a larger issue of sales and marketing that really gets under my skin. That modern glues are far superior to hide glue, and that modern finishes are way better than shellac.
Both of those
that
are in the
kind of-
book.
Bull fucking shit. And the reason it really irritates the shit out of me is because it's all based on marketing and money and sales. These companies who sell modern glues and modern finishes are trying to convince you to buy their shit that, oh, the old stuff is no good. The stuff that has worked for centuries, that is in every furniture piece that all of you woodworkers go to museums and you ooh and ah and get your little boners about, looking at the Met or whatever, and you're like, oh my God, I could never make that. If I made that, it'd be, and I would die. And see, like, yeah, guess what? It's hide glue and shellac. That's exactly, and it, it can be repaired. It's non-toxic. It can be reversed. Both of them, by the way, are reversible without damage to the piece. And yet we're buying these plastic fucking alternatives. Oh, polyurethanes. Oh, yeah, it's great. And all these vinyl glues that are going to, leave plastic, use petroleum as a sorry. I just I get so twisted up. It's like we have renewable resources. Both of these come from animals. Hide glue comes from the skin of cows. Shellac comes from the lac beetle. They give great results. They're infinitely flexible. We have centuries of data showing how good they are. And yet we pivot to modern glues and modern finishes. Not that there's no place for them. I'm not speaking unequivocally. There is a time and a place for things. I understand innovation and I'm not anti-innovation.
And
But
you do use Type on one.
I do occasionally use Quick and Thick when I,
Sure.
type on Quick and Thick, or I occasionally will use polyurethane for like a tabletop that's going to see a ton of water and I don't want to have to worry about water rings. So yes. But on the whole, what drives me batty about it is new woodworkers don't know this because the stupid companies are yelling through these megaphones about what you should use. And no one is making a ton of money off shellac and hide glue because they're not sponsored by any one company. They're just part of the ecosystem now.
Well, so I agree with you on the whole. That's not limited to the woodworking field. That's whatever field you're in. There's going to be something new coming along. They're going to go, well, this paint is better than oil paint because you don't have to mix, terpenes in, or you don't have to mix the pigment and wait. And like everything has their place, right? We don't have to be like full on traditionalists or anything like that. But that marketing campaign does exist with older materials. It just depends on who. Like I've been seeing this fish glue now on the interwebs, which like they're going to hit all the same marketing points that you just hit.
Well,
they're going to say it's biodegradable, it's reversible,
good.
made from the skin of fish.
Good. Let's use it.
Is it the skin of fish that they make it from?
I think so. It's all made from skins, yeah?
Is it?
I could be wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure it's the skin of fish.
Wasn't fish glue used for like parquetry or marquetry or something specific?
Oh, I don't know. We're deep in the nerd hole now.
Anyway, go on. Go on.
That's all I got.
All right.
Use shellac, but the contemporary things do have their place. Again, like shellac it's a wonderful finish. It's all of the things you just said, and it looks brilliant. The downside to it is it doesn't stand up well to water or alcohol, which are like the two things that everybody puts on a table.
That's why I don't finish tabletops with it. Where I eat, I don't. But everything else gets shellac. Okay, so I have a question for you, Vic.
Yep.
What is it about the way humans think that makes us so susceptible to believing things that are not necessarily true?
I think we put stock in what people we respect think. So I was told by somebody that I respected quite deeply that you should never use WD-40 in a woodworking shop because if it gets onto wood, it can cause problems with finish absorption. Mm-hmm. That's what I was told. And so this is the classic example. And then Christopher Schwarz wrote a blog post a number of years ago about using WD-40 for something or whatever. And like right away, I was like, well, you can't do that.
You can't do that.
Because so-and-so said no. And then I sort of thought about it and I'm like, well, I'm going to have him. I'm going to test this.
I got him right where I want him.
Yeah. and so I sprayed a board of cherry with some WD-40, and then I put a couple of coats of shellac on it, and then I put a couple of coats of polyurethane over that, and then I used the technique that the industry uses where they like slice an X into the finish with a knife, and then you try to like peel a corner up.
Ooh.
Like I researched.
I didn't know that was a technique for testing finish adhesion.
Yeah, to see if it like sticks. And it stuck.
Son of a bitch.
And so here I am, like I was ready to I was going to rage type. It was going to be amazing.
You're going to Yelp review his article.
It's going to be amazing.
I got you now, Christopher Schwarz. No. Turns out doesn't matter. And so for 5 years, I didn't use one of the most amazing things in a can in the shop because
you were told not to.
Because I was told that it would wreck the board.
Well, you know what's interesting? Like, I've heard people complain, and I feel like maybe we've complained on this podcast to some extent that like kids don't listen to people who know better, right? Like if only you listened to the wisdom of the elders, right?
Right.
And then you could history wouldn't repeat itself, yada yada, all the things. But like this is what happens when you listen to the wisdom of the elders. Those wisdoms,
Eric.
But
No,
I'm not
no.
I'm not trying to say that as a blanket statement. Don't learn from other people. What I'm saying is that wisdom fractures and becomes smaller and
That's
smaller
true.
and becomes anecdotal. And so there's a pro and a con to everything.
You
That's
have to.
true.
You have to.
Yeah.
I taught my daughter when she was growing up, question everything.
Yeah.
Don't take anybody's word for anything on any subject. If something doesn't smell right, look into it. Right? And understand why things are that way, which is exactly what I did with that board with the WD-40. Right? It's like I wanted to find out for myself if this was true or not. I mean, the motive was a bit fucked up, but but the idea is that like, okay, well, I got this guy who says no, and you're saying yes. Well, I'm going to find out, and that's what you have to do, because right now, I mean, our whole world is fucked up because we just take the word of
Well,
somebody.
Yeah.
And
it's true, but that apparently, I was reading a bunch of research, and I was reading, a particular set of research by his name's Philip Fernbach. He's a doctor at the Leeds School of Business in the University of Colorado, and he makes a strong case that everything you guys just said, that learning from other humans, right, even though it's fraught with misinformation at times, is what is uniquely human about us. That humans are really the one animal species that has learned to collaborate, and that separates us from the rest of the animals. Sharing knowledge in pursuit of goals is something uniquely human, and it has propelled us to soaring heights. Like a couple examples. Think about a Gothic cathedral. These were started in the 1200, like around the year 1200, right? Now no single human knew how to build a Gothic cathedral from start to finish. Every step, every art form, the glass, the architecture, cutting the stones. There is just no single human who has all that information. It required knowledge transfer across multitudes of different artists. And then to think that these cathedrals didn't get built for sometimes 400 or 500 years, like that transfer of information, right? From the stonemasons to the woodworkers to put up scaffolding to the glass artists to the architects,
to the dozen different architects who were in charge of that project
exactly.
over 400 years.
I mean, and our modern day equivalent of that could be something internet based, or it could be the space shuttle. There is no single human that knows how to construct a space shuttle from scratch by themselves. Every bit of the engineering, every bit of the polymer science and material composition. So he makes a fascinating case that the transfer, our ability to tell each other information and learn from each other anecdotally, like we were kind of shitting on it in one context, but in another context, it is what makes us human, and it is why we are successful as humans, as a race. So it's just part of who we are. So let's take it now to modern day. and like the cold open, you hear something, and how do you know it's not true? When do you accept it? Do you just accept it at face value? It depends on who told you. Do I respect that person? Has that person demonstrated a burden of proof to me that they know what they're talking about, and they'll only tell me things that are true? Or does that person kind of shoot from the hip? We have ways to grade our sources, but still none of it's foolproof, right? And we reside also in echo chambers, right? We like to surround ourselves with like-minded individuals who share commonalities, and as such, maybe misinformation can get propagated, and we hear it among our friends, and then we start repeating it. And honestly, I think a lot of us repeating misinformation is not in a bad, like, we're not doing it in a malicious sense, but it's just kind of how we are as humans. based on
Yeah.
this kind of research, and it really makes a lot of sense to me if I think about it in that context. He ends. Sorry, he ends this. There's a TED Talk if you want to look it up. Again, Philip Fernbach. You can find his TED Talk if you Google it. He ends with, "This is amazing. It's like a sense of understanding." So someone says something, or you watch a video on something, and you think you understand it, right? Like you just watched it, you never did it, but you feel like, oh, I could do that. Yeah, I know how to do that. And suddenly, watching someone do it becomes, oh, I know how to do that, right? And so he says, a sense of understanding is contagious, and when a contagious understanding is paired with individual ignorance, right? It can be a toxic recipe. So it's like I saw something. It makes me feel like I know it, but I didn't have the personal agency to dig deeper or test it. That's the individual ignorance. Like I just saw it, I repeated it. I never questioned it. I never tested it. I never had the personal agency to dig deeper. Like that is how misinformation really, roots deeply.
I'll tell you, as a lifelong ignorant individual, I feel seen.
Oh, and Eric, you know what's the beauty of this is he calls all of us out. We are all ignorant.
Sure, we all do it.
Guilty of this.
Yeah,
all of us are doing this because
it's in our nature.
And he's like, and then someone comes up to you who obviously has a different opinion than you, and you're like, oh man, that guy's stupid, right? Like because like this guy's a fucking a-hole. He doesn't know what he's talking about. But the truth is, you don't know what you're talking about either.
Well,
so,
right. Coming back to your example of like building a rocket ship, it's like you can have somebody who's the I don't know, fucking rocket propulsion scientist, and like they know everything backwards and forwards about fuel, about firing capacity, yada yada yada. Right. And then if you ask them about the material the shell is made out of, they probably have a passable understanding, so they're just gonna like say it confidently.
Yeah, like.
And then if me as this fucking ignoramus who just cuts dovetails for a living is like, well, you don't know how to actually build the shell. They're like, fuck off. I know way more than you do. Like just calm down.
Honestly, what you just highlighted, Eric, is we have a tendency to fill in the dots between. We have a tendency to fill in the dots between gaps. Like if we know this piece over here and we know that piece over there, we can kind of guess at what's in between. We have a tendency to do that, and or to like make shit up when we don't know.
And that also gave us the probably false confidence to try to fucking build cathedrals in the 1200s. Like what the audacity?
For real.
All right.
Like that's bananas.
Fire up another one, cowboy.
Go ahead,
Tesolin.
Oh,
yeah, fire up another one.
My favorite one came from Megan Fitzpatrick, because we were talking about all this, woodworking is bullshit. And she said one of the biggest myths is that in order to woodwork, you must have a penis.
That's funny.
And I said, I was like, that's interesting, because in other conversations I've had with Megan, she teaches.
And that's interesting.
Right. Yeah. And she says to me, I have men who come and pay whatever it is, $1,000 for the week or whatever to take a class, and then will immediately start mansplaining woodworking to me. And so, of course, Megan being Megan, she calls it out and says, well, you've either got too much money or you're incredibly stupid.
This is why everybody loves Megan.
Right.
She don't take no shit from nobody.
No, and nor should she.
Right.
But the point is that, like, I think we're seeing that change happening. Because I've always said that women make way better woodworkers than men do, because they just have a natural, like, attention to detail and less ego and all those sorts of things. So I always told people that I would much rather teach a woman who's never woodworked before in her life how to woodwork than a guy who's been playing at it for 5 years and watching YouTube and all that stuff, because they're going to walk in and like, well, I saw this YouTube, like my students know that you don't quote YouTube in my shop. Right. And that's not to say everything on YouTube is crap, because I mean, present company excluded. I mean, there are some people that I recommend that people watch. Eric is one of them. And because I know these people and I know their background and I know where they're coming from. And so, and it's not like, oh, well, this is what the algorithm says I have to do, so I'm going to do that. So you could be a lot more successful, Eric, if you would just sell out.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
But anyway,
I think about it from time to time.
yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
If I just started pouring river tables, God, I would be fucking swimming in money.
You would be.
I would
And
be.
you'd probably die at 56 from everything you've been inhaling and all that other happy horse shit. But
well, I think about this, the type of student. Larissa and I have conversations about that student that you just mentioned regularly. And one of the things that she pointed out to me early on is there's obviously still a large degree of misogyny in many of the trades.
sure.
In the classes that we teach, I think you're exactly right that it is shifting. Like, we are seeing the shift happen, which is wonderful. I think a lot, and I don't want to say even 50%, but there is some component of those students who just have the compulsion to, maybe it's correct, maybe it's mansplain, maybe it's just contribute information, and they like, it's almost like verbal vomit, like they can't stop it. And Larissa pointed out to me that the majority of those students are usually retired doctors, lawyers, successful people, high success people. And they're just so goddamn used to being somebody whose voice is heard in a room,
The alpha.
that when they come into being, and like, it could be an alpha thing, but it like, I think it's just like muscle memory of like, I have a thought and I say it and people listen, and it happens before they can even catch it. Because I've also seen students of that same ilk, and again, I'm not defending them. Some of them are real assholes, but I've seen it happen where, like, when you kind of acknowledge that they're doing that and call them out and be like, Larissa's been in this goddamn field for 15 years. She's been a professional for 15 years. She knows what the fuck she's talking about. Just
Right.
like, shut up and listen. And then you can see like the look of recognition on their face, like, oh, I didn't even clock that I was doing it.
Right. And I think that's where it's a cultural thing. So when I went and taught people how to use Veritas products in China, I was working through a translator, which is always interesting. And so as I teach, every couple of minutes I say, does anybody have any questions? And there was nothing, just complete blank stares, people looking at their paper, nothing. And so at the end of the first, so I found that a little bit odd, but then at the end of the first day, the translator came up to me and they said, listen, you can stop asking them for questions because they won't ask.
They're never going to ask.
And I said, well, why is that? And they said, well, because what they're going to do is they're going to go home and they're going to look at their notes of what you taught. And then tomorrow morning, she said, show up early. I'll be there early. People are going to come up to you one-on-one in a non-group environment and ask any questions that they have, because the most disrespectful thing you can do is ask the teacher a question in a group environment, because the insinuation is that you don't know what you're doing.
Right. You don't know how to teach.
And I thought, whoa.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I could get behind that as a rule. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
let's instill that everywhere.
Right. It's like, instead of just like, because we always hear the people who ask those questions. I remember sitting in at a fine woodworking event, and I sat in on a lecture Mike Pekovich was giving about the block plane. And you know what I mean? Because like, I know how to use a block plane, I think. But I want to see how Mike uses a block plane, because I'm sure I'm going to pick something up, and sure as shit I did. But some dude in the class puts his hand up and he's like, yeah, so like when I use my block plane, I do like X, Y, and Z. And I was just wondering if you ever considered doing that. And it's like, well, first of all, that's not a fucking question, right? What you're
You just
doing
raise
is,
your hand to tell me that
You're
you
just-
have experience using a block
yeah,
plane.
your tongue is
Yeah.
just rattling in your face.
Right,
And
right,
then,
right.
but the best was the way Mike handled it. So Mike listened to the question, and he sort of squinted his eyes a little bit, like he was thinking about it. And then he looked right at the guy and he said, "No."
Yep.
And then just kept going. I've never thought of doing that.
No.
And so, but that was again an example of a person who is sort of trying to their ego took over.
Yeah.
You know?
They're just trying to say like, hey, I have knowledge too. And you're like, I love that for you. Now is not the fucking moment.
Right.
You know?
Right. You're paid.
Yeah.
You paid how many thousands of dollars to be at this event,
Right.
so that you could. I mean,
so that you could tell Mike Pekovich that you know how to use a block plane. That's a wildly irresponsible use of money.
right. And I mean, if you've got that sort of money, then great. But
Sure. All right. Here's another one for you. This is an old ism. You guys have all heard it. And it drives me you know what it is, Paul? I have a real bee in my bonnet about this.
Oh, do you?
Okay.
Bee in your bonnet.
Yeah.
as it
I
were.
got a bee in my bonnet.
Okay.
So the quote is, find a job you enjoy and you'll never work a day in your life.
horseshit.
It's dog shit. And here's why. Because it doesn't matter what you do. And I love what I do. I would never do anything else, truly. Anything that you do will have days that are just doing the fucking job, that are just doing the things that need to be done to pay the bills, to run the business, even if it's not a quote unquote work in the way that we define it in our economy. Let's say you're a stay-at-home parent. You love your children, probably. I hope so.
Some days.
Some days you're just like, hey, can you shut the fuck up and go in the other room? And I just have to make you food so that you'll eat it and just be nourished. And I don't want to eat SpaghettiOs and hot dogs for a fifth straight day, but that's the only thing you'll put in your fucking gullet. So here we go. That's just life. It's just life.
Yep.
So I really hate it when people are like, oh, you must never actually work because you love what you do. And I'm like, yeah. And today I spent 6 hours fucking accounting. So because that's running a business.
That's Fridays for me.
Oh yeah.
Fridays is accounting day.
Usually it's the first 90 minutes of every day. I just, knock it out while I'm having a cup of coffee. But I've been so
I should do
busy
that
the last
maybe.
3. Just sit in your pajamas and run some numbers with a cup of coffee.
That's a
But
way
today
better
it took
plan.
forever because I've been basically too busy for the last month to actually do it. Anyway, I've got to be in my bonnet about that. That's all. Thank you for coming to my TED Talk.
Yeah. Okay.
I get
All
it
right,
though. I mean, it seems easy enough because again, it's I think it comes from a place where there are so many people who are dissatisfied.
What are you, haunted over there?
For those who
power
don't have
just
the
went
video
out?
feed, Vic's light just went off in the room and he's in the complete pitch black.
The ghost of Father Canada just canceled the light bill.
Alexa, turn on The Office.
Oh, you a fancy boy too.
No,
Fucking
not
Alexa.
really. I'm not sure what happened there, but she must have misunderstood me. What were we talking about? Oh, yeah. I think people are generally just dissatisfied with what they do 8 hours a day, and if you could just love what you did, that would make everything better. But the reality is that some days you just have a shit day and nothing goes right. Today I 3D printed a bunch of parts for my dust collector and not a single fucking one of them worked. And so and it's I spent hours doing that and because I had this smart cunning plan, and then I printed everything out and then I went to put it together and I overlooked something extremely obvious, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to go sit in the back garden and eat dirt because this is shit.
How
I
it
hate
goes
it.
some days, man. I was just the video I was editing for the YouTube channel today was about these big mortise and tenons that I'm doing for this door. And I started the video, I filmed the opener, I grabbed the pieces, and I was like, let's fucking go. I'm knocking out the joiner today, getting it done one day. The second that I moved the pieces to the machine side of the room, the thickness planer shit the bed. And so I had to spend the entire day that day fixing the thickness planer instead of doing any of the things that I had planned that day. And like, that's running a shop. Did I want to spend 7 hours dismantling, learning how the innards of this machine works and reassembling it all and zeroing everything out? No, I wanted to cut some fucking mortise and tenons. But hey, that's how it goes. But I'm doing what I love, so I didn't even work that day, apparently.
Not at all. Not a second.
Well, people
right,
who
Paul.
say that they don't, you never work a day in your life, they obviously are not familiar with the concept of hedonic adaptation, which says that no matter how fucking happy or how sad you are, we all go back to the steady state pretty quick, our natural set point. So for those people, that's just a feel good internet meme anyway. My next myth is like, you shouldn't use sapwood and you should get rid of all knots and imperfections. I'm like, are you fucking dumb? Like sapwood is some of the most beautiful wood, and like the transition, the color gradients between like heartwood and sapwood tends to be extremely curly. The sapwood tends to be show-stopping in some species, and some people just cut it out as a matter of practice. Oh, it's highly unstable. Yeah, I would agree. It's not as hard as the heartwood, and perhaps
How highly unstable.
exactly
Only about as much as me, buddy.
What I will admit, based on observation, because I'm a scientist, is that the sapwood absorbs more finish than the heartwood. The heartwood, it sits right on top. At least for walnut, it sits right on top, and in the sapwood, it like just drinks it up. So
Makes
there
sense.
is some form of, I don't know, what do you call that? Like it's more like a sponge. I don't know is there a word for that? Like,
Well, it was more recently transporting fluid than the heartwood was.
Yes. So there's some structural difference where one's drinking up finish and the other it's not, and it's sitting on the surface. So I give you that there is a structural difference. Now, whether it makes a difference in a piece of wood or like you're using it for like a little box or something, that's just stupid because all the wood is more than strong. Right. So why would you cut this beautiful wood out as a matter of principle? That is just such backwards thinking. And then people have these tables where they take out every imperfection, quote unquote imperfection. Even calling it that shows your confirmation bias. And they replace it with these squares of wood. They like will route it out and put a square chunk in and like, I think it looks really good. And I'm like, really? Because obviously you need your eyes checked. That looks like shit. If you left the wood alone in its natural beauty, like the organicness of the moving grain and the voids and the so-called imperfections, like that is, the world is curly. Have you not noticed the world is not straight and not square and organic? That is what humans find beauty in. What are you doing putting these square patches over something that was already beautiful? What a mistake. There, I'm done.
Well,
the number of t-shirts we could sell if we made one that said the world is curly, not straight. Like there's a whole market for that.
You got to give Alan Watts credit for that. That's an Alan Wattsism.
Okay. All right.
But you know what? You're
the
right.
World is, it's wiggles and goo. That's what he called it. The world is wiggles and goo.
That's not.
Yeah.
Nope. We're not putting that on a t-shirt.
Well, that's to Vic's earlier point about him loving sex too much.
So listen, you can't put, well, look, I've got a wrist. This is what I rest my wrists on when I type. Okay. It's a chunk of white. It's a crotch of white oak. And so I have my hand on a crotch all day.
Goddamn beautiful.
Right. I do too.
Right. But like it's got holes from bugs, and it was something that was just going to get thrown away. And I was like, nope, that's going to be my wrist rest when I'm typing. And you're never, ever going to be able to get a color match the way Mother Nature did it.
That's right.
So when you take cherry and then you've got the sap, like that cream color and that particular red hue, like you couldn't pick two colors that are better suited to be next to each other.
Yeah.
So
And sorry, Eric, but to your point, Vic, the wormholes, the wood wormholes, I think they're lovely. I leave
Yeah.
them in boxes. Like there are like holes and voids. Like you can see through the box side in some of my boxes.
Sure.
And I just leave it. I don't care one bit. I think it's gorgeous.
Yes.
I think that both of the examples that you brought up are things that were they had a functional reason not to be cut away, and then we've developed quote unquote like pseudoscience reasons to do them, kind of thing. So hear me out. I see your face. Hear me out here. Let's take the imperfections as the first example. Let's take knots for an example.
Knots. Yep.
So you're making a chest 100 years ago. You're making a tabletop, whatever it is, and you bring it to a client's house, and it's got a handful of small knots, not necessarily pinhole knots, but not the giant ones either. But they are what we have deemed imperfections, because what happens is over time that table expands and contracts, and the knot does not
Pops out.
and it pops out. And so a client who doesn't know anything about wood or wood science or the stability of wood sees a piece of their table fall out and they go, well, what the fuck, man? The table's falling apart. Like something is wrong.
Let me speak to your manager.
Right. And so an industry goes, it's just easier for us to fill that or patch it. And it makes the client happy, and it saves us from future repairs or headaches in the long run. Right. And so similarly with the sapwood, I don't think that there is any scientific reason not to use sapwood. And anybody who really claims that is either, again, engineers are taking all kinds of strays this episode, but I think it's warranted. Like if you're worried about the expansion or stability rate of sapwood versus the heartwood, I think you're overthinking it.
Don't use wood. Use
maybe,
steel.
Maybe take a Xanax. You're going to be fine.
Use steel or concrete if it's bugging you.
But coming back to the coloration point that Vic also brought up, that pairing is perfect, right? The sapwood and the heartwood. Like
it's
cherry
beautiful.
has a very mild, warm tone in its sapwood that matches with the redness of it. But when you are producing objects in a line, everything needs to look the same. And if you this is why we color wood in industry, right? So that you can make a tabletop out of 4 or 5 different trees, and all of those trees and all of those sticks are going to be different colors, and you can stain those to be pretty close to a uniform color unless there's sapwood in there. And now all of a sudden it becomes a massive headache for anybody who's producing objects at scale.
All right, Eric, I accept your point, but no, not but. I've always learned to use the word and instead of but. But sounds so controversial. I accept your point. And do you think that mentality of production, that industrial production mentality has seeped into the hobbyist psyche?
Yeah,
I
think
that's why they say you can't use sapwood?
1,000%. And here's the reason why. I think it's because there are so few people making individual objects anymore. And there's been a resurgence, right? We see more people because of the internet. So for all of the shit that the internet takes, we do see more people making one-off objects on the internet. Prior to that, the only people that you saw making one-off objects were people you had to go to a furniture show. You had to know they existed, seek one out, buy a ticket, and they're not cheap, travel to it, and then look at those objects for an afternoon. Everything else that you saw and was considered high quality craftsmanship was produced at a mass production scale. And so I think over the course of the 20th century, and maybe even before that, we started to associate the look of mass produced furniture with high quality craftsmanship. And that's where a lot of those biases started to seep into, the hobbyist furniture maker as we know it now.
Wow, you just took the air out of my sails there, bitch.
Got you, boy. Sometimes I have a good point.
Fuck, I don't like it, but it's all I like it. I like it and I don't like it at the same time.
It's like porn.
I didn't say that.
Well, you inferred it.
Okay, enough of that topic.
All right. Let's see. Vic, close us out with one more. You got a good short one, buddy?
Oh, God.
Maybe short, but it's skinny. Another, yeah. Okay. Don't put your plane down on the sole.
I love this one.
Oh,
And it's
blade
like,
down.
you know what? It's so funny because like nobody can tell us why it is that way. We can only speculate based on like certain things. The theory that I like, true or not, is that in the old days we had planes that were blades were set with wedges, and if you put one of those down too hard, perhaps you took the set off the wedge, and then the set would come off the plane.
I haven't heard that theory. That's an interesting one.
And so that's the one I like the best, because like the other ones I don't really understand because they don't really hold water, but the wedge thing kind of holds a bit of water, and so it's like, okay, I can buy that.
There are two that I can see both of them having a real impact on this myth. All right, the first is the cabinet maker, the trim carpenter, the finish carpenter who takes their plane on the job site. Right. So if you're in a workshop, I know my bench.
Right.
I am the only person who works at my bench. I know what goes on my bench. And if I put a plane down, blade down on my workbench, I know it's safe.
Right.
If I go to a job site and I have a table, I'm working around other people, stonemasons, metal workers, whatever, there's shit everywhere. There's debris everywhere. And if I put my plane down, blade down anywhere on that site, I might ground steel into it. I might ground sand into it. I could damage the edge. Yep. And so it's safer at that point just to turn it on the side. And I do find myself doing this when I do take block planes onto a job site. I'll instinctively lay it down on its side because I don't know, the surface is probably dirty.
It's true.
So there's one area where I could see that impacting it. The other one, and as a previous shop teacher, I like this one and I can see it. I taught my students to use hand planes in the classroom. And if you know anything about children between the ages of 11 and 18, care for the physical world around them is not of the utmost concern. And so they just throw shit around, and there's shit on the bench, there's screwdrivers on the bench, there's screws on the bench, they slam them down, they drop them on the floor, et cetera, et cetera. And so our theory is that wood shop teachers in the early 20th century started to develop this habit of teaching students to lay it on their side so that they didn't slam it down on like a screwdriver or a screw. Because the other thing is, when you have a bunch of 13-year-olds in a wood shop using hand planes, who's sharpening those fucking blades? This guy, right? And if I can prevent Tommy and Jason and dipshit Joe from slamming down another blade. Yeah, Joe just took a stray there, unfortunately. From slamming the plane down on a blade and damaging that blade, well, that's one less blade I have to sharpen that week.
Truth.
You know? So those are the two that I could see having some plausible reason, but either way, there's no reason to do it.
I leave mine on the side. I don't know why. I don't know if it's habit or just I leave a lot of shit on my bench that's metal. So I guess I'm just like the probability of hitting a ruler or something is much higher if I put a blade down than blade to the side.
Did you take wood shop when you were in middle school and high school?
I did, yeah.
Did they teach you on the side?
No, we didn't have hand tools back then.
No.
But I remember being mystified that they allowed us to use a lathe at that age.
Same. Grade 7, I used a lathe for the first time. Terrifying.
They're fascinated by it. Oh my
God.
Teaching middle schoolers to use a lathe is really, they are like transfixed by
Vic,
it.
Sure.
I'm with you. I was in 7th grade. I don't think I was qualified to stick metal objects in this fast spinning thing. It seems dangerous as hell now that I think about it.
I taught middle schoolers to use a lathe. They're fine. Nobody cut a finger off.
Well, and now that I think about it, when I think about like the tools we were using, basically we were just using scrapers.
Yeah.
And so, now that I know a little bit about turning and like, understand gouges and stuff, it's like, no, we weren't doing any of that.
I'm not going to give them a fucking gooseneck bowl gouge. Like,
how about a skew? Be like, what do you mean you can't turn beads with a skew, you fucking pussy?
Yeah.
Get to it.
That's right. You want to be in the home ec class? The things they used to say to us. My God, it's a miracle we turned out at all.
Yeah, we're such great examples.
Oh my
Reprobates
God.
that we are.
All right. right, let's wrap this up before we get in trouble.
All right, y'all. Well, that was great, Vic. Thank you for bringing this interesting
thanks, buddy.
topic. And I think for all of us to keep in mind, like, I feel as though, based on the reading and the research, which I thought was fascinating, the obviously the tendency to repeat or to learn from each other and repeat it is undeniably human, but then comes the personal agency
Right.
into asking yourself, how do I know that's true? Is that true? How could I test it? Is there someone else I could ask? So I think it's a balance, because you can't do that with everything. There's just not enough time in the day. So you kind of have to pick your battles. It's a really interesting topic. Thank you, Vic. It was awesome.
Oh, my pleasure.
And Vic, for those people who want to find you, you take classes, right? Like you mentor students and you give personal. Tell us a bit about what you offer.
Yeah. So the primary thing that I do now, I don't teach group classes very much anymore, because it's very, as anybody who's taught knows, that you're trying to, you've got people that are at this level and you got people that are at this level, and trying to find that happy medium. Somebody's unhappy. You're either going too slow or too fast or whatever. So I sort of switched my model to be more one-on-one. And so that's, I have two basic sort of groups of students. I have people who are just learning how to woodwork. And so a lot of that is technique and, how to use certain tools and that kind of stuff. And then the other is mentorship, which is basically people who've been at it for a little while. And those are the ones that are allowed to say, hey, listen, I just saw Eric Curtis do this on YouTube. Is that a smart idea?
Do not. Whatever they're bringing up is probably not.
Right.
Don't follow that clown.
But I mean, you have people who, see techniques that are on the internet and they're like, it didn't look safe. Is it safe? And it's
that's what we're talking about in the after show now, because I got a good example of that.
Yeah,
that's a good one.
Yeah, so I mean, there's so it's basically the mentorship is they sign on with me for an hour and pepper me with questions. Okay. Which again, it's that like what you were saying, Paul, about like sometimes like you hear something, but you got to sort of like verify with somebody else who you believe has the credentials to give you a good answer. And so that's basically what I'm doing. That's
a valuable service.
Well,
and Vic, it's popular. Is this online?
Yeah, it's online and in person. So if you're near me, you can come to my shop. I can go to your shop. We can do that. But I have students in different countries and different, like, on the other side of the equator.
Vic, have you ever turned a student down for having a better mustache than you, or... I'm asking for a friend.
No, what I do is I actually ask them which waxes they use, and like
for those that want to see Vic's glorious mustache, all you need to do is
check out the Patreon
to get to the after show and the video feed, and to support us. We'd appreciate it.
And real quick before we sign off, Vic, how can the people reach you? What's your Instagram?
Vic Tesolin Woodworks.
Is that the best
on
place?
Instagram, yep. And then I also write on Substack. Under wood slivers, because it gets under your skin, and right, yeah, it's good.
Fantastic. Thank you, brother.
All right,
friends. Catch you in the after show.
Bye.